Wellness Wednesday with Dr. Meyer from the Okoboji Wellness Clinic. Good morning, Dr. Meyer.
Good morning, Dave. Good morning, everybody.
Well, we're going to talk about the brain today. It's a pretty important thing we carry around there in our head.
Absolutely. You know, I it's always fun because sometimes I do these things spur of the moment of like what is the win of the week, and I just had a gentleman in here this morning that I've been working with probably for about 2 months now, specifically brain related and brain and pain related, and his story is a pretty remarkable story, and he's about 10 to 12 hyperbaric treatments into his 40 treatment plan, and he is seeing some pretty tremendous results already. And so some of the big things, and we've touched on this in the past, whether or not it's the brain or anywhere in the body, is tolerance. As we develop toxin load exposure to different toxins in our environment, whether or not that's food related, genetically modified, seed oils, there's just so much that we're exposed to, what's in the water, what's in the air, all that it's a constant tax on our body. And over time, the body, it's like, what is the straw that breaks the camel's back? And for different people, it's different things. Well, this gentleman, he played football in Nebraska did some college ball, and he said he had more concussions and broken bones than he could even probably recall or count on two hands. And when he was playing ball, of course, they didn't have all the protocols in, brain protocols, sit out for a day. You just kind of took a lick and kept on going, or they get you right back into the game. And so that was, I think he played ball in the 70s, but his wife has encouraged him to come in to try hyperbaric therapy to preserve brain health, because he would be at an increased risk for developing dementia because of those multiple hits to the head that he sustained over a course of time. Interesting thing, and some folks may think you have to play football to have had brain injury, traumatic brain injury. Not the case, of course. It's a lot of our military and troops, exposure to blast injury, to even just hitting your head on, say you're tall and you're going under the door well and you knock your head a little bit. Something as simple as that, or a little bit of a fall that you may have sustained. I've had folks that say, yeah, I was playing on the monkey bars when I was a little kid, and boom, yep, had a concussion, went to the doctor, they just said rest, and that's about all there was to it. But what ends up happening is you develop this glial cell activation. These nerves just start to get super excited in your brain, and they stay inflamed. And this constant inflammation state over time puts a lot of stress on the body, and then you can lose tolerance. And in his case, he talked about, fatigue. So many folks will say, oh yeah, at the end of the day, I don't have the energy. It's like my brain just is tired. I don't have as much capacity to do the high level thinking that I used to do as the day wears on. So that can be one sign of loss of tolerance in the brain tissue, and that's the case with our guest here that's been coming for a couple of weeks. As well, he has noted that his insomnia, a lot of folks with multiple strikes to the brain then develop difficulty sleeping. That's been the case with him. Irritability. That's another common thing. Tyler Sash used to play football for Iowa. He had sustained multiple traumas to the brain, and there's some history on his story about just developing how irritability can develop, and with multiple blows to the brain. And this is the case with our guest here as well. And I was so excited this morning because he's just like, I've had this chronic pain in my low back and my neck. This afternoon irritability. I don't want to be around people because I just feel irritable. I don't have the energy that I had. I'm having to sustain myself on coffee and caffeine. He went through the list of each and every one of those things with me, and he's like, we're about 12 hyperbaric treatments into this, and all of those boxes that I just mentioned are being checked as either some improvement to significant improvement. And so, absolutely game changer type stuff. And then, just before I got on air with you, this is kind of fun to utilize some of these different outside the box modalities and thinking. I threw some LifeWave patches on him, and because he's just got this chronic pain. If you got chronic pain, and it's ultimately going to affect your mood because it's just that's the way it goes, and so it works. It's micro or crystal technology in these little patches that a lot of times I incorporate with hyperbaric therapy, and in his case, it can be within a matter of 10 seconds. So these are body heat activated. They're all natural, organic, and were created for the Navy SEALs. And it's so cool to put these patches on these different acupuncture points within a matter of literally 10 seconds. Today, right before I hopped on air, he's like, I've got that constant pain right over that left SI joint, and I've got that constant neck pain, multiple surgeries, all that. It was like a mic drop moment for him. So he just hops out of the hyperbaric chamber, shares with me all these wins that he's had with regard to less irritability, more energy, less brain fog. And then we're like, well, let's try this because the pain is getting better, but not where we want it to be. And literally, he's like, wow. And so, super exciting. And then on top of that, we a lot of times are going to layer. So what we'll probably do with him is if you do a search on polyphenols and like a PubMed search, you're going to want to check out things like curcumin and resveratrol. And these things, and look it up because that's like a medical library that exists, and it's online. So you do a PubMed search for brain injury, concussion, and resveratrol and curcumin, and you'll note all kinds of research. Of course, these are not pharmaceuticals. So when it comes to management of your pain or your inflammation or condition, it's not something that's going to be offered traditionally at the conventional doctor's office. But the research is out there. It's incredible. I mean, we're talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these reports and studies that confirm the benefits. So that's the next thing. It's like, let's get him going on some supplements that are working to, I mentioned initially the glial cell activation. The hyperbarics are working to turn down inflammation, turn on over 19,000 different anti-inflammatory genes, increase nitric oxide, which increases oxygen to the brain, decrease inflammation, increase mitochondrial activity, which increases energy with hyperbarics. But then you throw on something like that resveratrol and a curcumin, and we're dampening this IL-6 pathway, this inflammatory pathway, and the NF-kappa beta pathway, and it is like music. It's a symphony together, and you're turning back that glial cell activation. So you kind of break out of this inflammatory loop for folks, and then this is what we call biohacking or biostacking, where you add a couple of things to that hyperbaric chamber treatment, and that includes the liquids for him soon to be, and we expect to take him again to that next level of improvement. So we're always trying. I call it going to different base camps. So we start off foundationally. Let's work on your digestion. Let's get that going. Let's work on your absorption, your detox mechanism through your liver. Then let's work on a little higher up the mountain to the next base camp. So we've started with him to recover his brain with hyperbarics and oxygen and pressure. And then next step here, we're going to continue to add some different supplements to support that recovery for him. So it's another great story, huge recovery for a guy that, down the road, a very good likelihood that he would develop some problems with dementia, memory deficits because of all those concussions he sustained. So we are helping, what does that mean for somebody? It's that prevention. That's a lot of times, folks, you wait till it's really bad, my memory's awful. We can still see you then and make some incredible recoveries and improvements in helping that body balance with inflammation and brain tissue memory, but it is still one of those earlier the better and that's what he's doing. He's working on now. I think he's in his early 50s so that he can sustain himself into the 70s and 80s, and nobody likes the thought of going to the nursing home and not being able to take care of themselves. So the investment if you've got any signs of brain injury, in your 50s or 60s or 40s, don't ignore it. That would be my biggest advice. You want to activate on that so that you don't end up, end-of-life care in a situation where you're having to depend on a lot of people to do your daily ADLs or activities of daily living.
Absolutely.
So anyway, great story.
That is a great story, and we're out of time, as always. But I was catching a physician online last night, wanted to tell you about this. He is leaving traditional setting type medicine for something similar to what you are doing, because he said we can't keep doing what we're doing, and talked about the inflammation, about we can't be exposed to these toxins, we can't be doing these processed foods that we're doing and expect different results. We've done this for so long now. We know that the toxins and the processed foods and the diet and all of these things that are causing that inflammation, beating us down with inflammation on a daily basis. And he's like, he talks a little bit like Robert Kennedy Jr., and I know President Trump's been out there saying it too. These chronic conditions, they can be helped if we will do the education at a younger age.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, in the nutrition side of things, I think maybe I got 2 hours in medical school on that. And we just were not, most of it took the last 3 years with COVID for a lot of us to kind of expand the horizon a little bit, look outside the box and say, hey, there is more out there on the prevention side. And unfortunately, it's the way the system is set up with a 7-minute visit that you typically see your doctor in all due respect and understanding, because I've been in that situation. How can you really cover the ground you need to cover when it comes to addressing all the different and the environmental things that we live in, the nutrition, and it's next to impossible in that environment. So that's why a lot of folks are getting out of that setting, because they're frustrated with it. They're feeling like, how do I optimize my patient's care when I got 7 minutes with them? I need to be in an integrative team with a bunch of other health-minded practitioners that have gifts in the healing arts, and we can work together on a plan and not dictated to them by insurance, and where I can spend or they can spend an hour and a half with somebody to really make significant progress, and then do that over and over and over again to the point where you are starting to cover some major progress. And like you said, I mean, it is the world of COVID, a lot of silver linings with it. So I like to look at the glass half full and say, because of it, there's a lot more practitioners out there, health practitioners out there that are traditionally trained, that are joining up with other health-minded practitioners that were maybe considered alternative, and now they're joining up, and we're on a mission here of wellness and decreased inflammation and improving quality of life, and looking at taking a different approach with different modalities and treatments. So it's an exciting time to be in the healthcare arena, because people are hungry for change and improvement in their quality, and a lot of providers are happy to make that transition as well. So.
Yeah, a lot of folks wanting to help people live, not just survive. All right,
Right
Dr. Meyer, how do people come find you?
Give us a holler at 712-339-6024. And I do Wednesday afternoons. I do discovery calls that are complimentary to discuss how you might figure into a different approach here in the clinic, what that might look like with your medical background. Stop in at any time just for a quick tour if you want the team to walk you through the building. And that's at 3305 Berquist Avenue in Spirit Lake off Highway 71. Look forward to hearing from you and coming in and meeting you in person.
Very good. Dr. Meyer, always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Have a great day. We'll chat soon.
Sounds great, Dave. Thanks, everybody.
Dr. Bradley Meyer at Okoboji Wellness Clinic. Find out more at okobojiwellnessclinic.com.